Here I will show you how to use the Logger Pro application and many of its functions. So you will double click on the Finder and you will look for Applications and then double click the Logger Pro icon. They will be in alphabetical order. And you'll get something that looks like this. So you can use this to input data. Your X information will go here. This goes on your x-axis, and your y information goes here. All of this will show up on the y-axis. So let's say I'm going to add some data. And just some imaginary data. And I'll do the same for the y. So it automatically shows the data points for us. There are a few things we can do. We can adjust the scale or the range of these axes values. If you go up here, notice it says click to edit the max value. You can click right in this region here, and then you can change this to any number you'd like, and it will auto adjust. I'll do the same down here. You have to bring the cursor over to the number or an area toward the end and click, and you can adjust that as well. You can shrink this or expand this as you wish. You can also change the look of the graph. You can double click on the graph space and you'll get this table that shows up. And if you want the points connected, you can check this box here and hit OK. And the points will connect for you. But usually we won't use this function because we're concerned with relationships and not necessarily what the line is. So I'm going to double click again and get rid of that connect points, and make sure the point protectors are on so you can see where those points actually are. You can also change the name of the X and Y axes. So for example, double click on the X and it gives you a name spot. You can change the name, call it time, and we'll give it units of seconds. And notice it's here and also down here. We can double click on the Y column and change its name to distance, for example, and the units will be meters, and hit done. And again, this shows up here as well as on the y-axis. It may be important at times to determine what kind of curve fits the data. So you can use this button here. It's the linear fit button, so you click that. And if it is in fact linear, it should follow your points pretty well. And it gives you the slope and the y-intercept if there is one, and as well as the equation. For linear fit, it's y equals mx plus b. We can get rid of this little table here and keep the line. If we double click on that box, we can uncheck this box for show on graph, and it does go away. But most of the time you will want that slope information, so you'll keep that table on there. At times, you may also have to do a curve fit. So let's say we want to add new data. We'll go up here to Data, New Data Set, And notice if I scroll through, this is data set 2, and if I continue to scroll, here's data set 1. I'm going to input similar information. So 2. My distance I'm going to make a little bit different. So let's say this is 5, 12, 25, 40, and 68. Notice for some reason my information is not showing up on my graph. So I may have to tell it to graph that data. If that's the case and it's not showing up automatically, we double click the area of the graph anywhere. We go up here to Axes Options. And we have to tell it to graph dataset 2. Dataset 1 is already checked. Dataset 2 does not appear to be, so we have to hit this little arrow here to expand the dataset, and we want to check the distance box and hit OK, and it should show up, and it does, but I think we're off a little bit with our axes values, so I'm going to go up here and change them. So make this 70. Then we can begin to see the difference in our lines. This one looks linear. We can make a linear graph out of this, but it doesn't seem to fit linear, so let's try some others. We go up here to this button. This is the curve fit button. And we already have a linear fit done for dataset 1, so let's choose dataset 2. Hit OK. And it's going to give us this box here. And we can select which equations to use, which kind of relationship, and see if they fit by hitting this try fit button. So we'll do this one. Start from the top always. The proportional doesn't seem to fit all that well. Linear, mx plus b, we'll try that one. It's a little better, but it doesn't appear to be perfect. And then we'll try the quadratic. That does seem to fit pretty well. When you get to the first one that fits pretty well, stop, and that is the one you want. So we've got it, and hit OK. And it'll again give us our information. So it gives us the equation, the quadratic equation, and it gives us the values of A, B, and C. So those may be pieces of information that we need later. Again, we can close that box and it gets rid of the entire line, or we can double click on it and check the Show on Graph button and it'll go away. There are some other tools as well. This one up here is the Examine tool. So if we need to know information about a specific point on our graphs, we can certainly get that information. Oops. Notice I place this at different points along my lines, and it tells us the time values and the distance values for each of our lines, the red being the dataset 1, the linear, and the lighter red being the quadratic value.